issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
From the acclaimed director that's brought us films such as Ex Machina and Annihilation and the incredible show Devs, writer-director Alex Garland is back with a new film that will definitely have a lot of people talking. It may be his most divisive film to date, but the question is, does this film warrant all this type of conversation, this type of hype? Is it worth checking out? Well, we'll be discussing that and much more in today's spoiler-free review of A24's Civil War. I want to hear from you all in the comments below. Let me know if you're a fan of Alex Garland's previous work and were you looking forward to seeing his new film. And of course, once you've seen it, let me know your honest opinion on how you all felt while watching this movie. But more importantly, how did you feel while walking out of the theater? Let's have those conversations in the comments below. So I remember when this trailer dropped and it kind of shook the internet. I know a lot of people were kind of saying that it feels maybe inappropriate for the time of the film, that it might be too divisive of what it's trying to say politically speaking, with it being such a politically driven type of narrative. And look, I saw the trailer and said to myself, this looks like an episode of HBO Vice. Like, it looks that grounded in reality. And I'm an A24 fan. It's my favorite production studio out there. I'm a big fan of Alex Garland. And I was really like, this is one of my most anticipated films of the year. And this is the most expensive film to date by A24. It beat out last year's Bowls Afraid. So there's a lot of hype going into this film. And I want to start off by talking about the positives. And I want to start off by talking about the filmmaking, which I found to be quite extraordinary. Now, this film is set in the future in a time where America finds itself in its second civil war, as we watch a team of journalists travel across the United States to DC before the takedown of the White House, as they're documenting the events and trying to survive. I found the on-screen presentation in this movie to be unbelievably staggering. I kid you not when I say that I feel like this was a real-life episode documenting the sheer violence of modern-day war and a hyper-realistic horrors that come with a divided nation. Cinematographer Rob Hardy, who's worked with Garland in the past, has really completely outdone himself with this movie. The use of the camera and really making you feel like you're right in the mix, and the way that they capture the action and the brutality of the war sequences were just completely jaw-dropping. Now, with this being a film about journalists and photography, I also found a lot of the photos taken in those more intense scenes were very effective in their use. This film is very scary in its depiction of the future that isn't too far out of the realm of possibility, and Garland's creativity and the use of detail within certain shots were outstanding, but also very haunting and beautiful. The IMAX presentation is fully being taken advantage of with this film. It has next level sound design and sound effects, but also these sweeping, beautiful landscape shots. I can't stress enough how incredible the filmmaking is. Now, I want to say this now, for better or for worse, this film is not about the how or the why or getting Alex Garland's perspective on America or taking a left side approach or a right side approach. That isn't the concern of this movie. And the film offers almost no insight into the war or concern with tackling with the politics of it all. Garland is way more concerned with looking at this particular war from a journalistic point of view, and I felt like he was applying how most wars can be reduced to images shot by journalists who can be indifferent. Now, speaking a little bit about these characters in the story, I was not expecting to see how focused it was going to be on following our characters who are journalists and how they were willing to risk their lives to share a story. This cast was incredible, starting off with some of these supporting characters like Wagner Moura, who plays Joel, who in my eyes was a hunter. He was always seeking the next big story. He was great in this film. You have the veteran McKinley Henderson, who never misses an assignment. He is so phenomenal as this stubborn mentor who's on the go with these journalists. I thought he was fantastic, but the standouts to me were Kirsten Dunst and Cailee Spaeny. Kirsten plays a character by the name of Lee, who's seen it all as a journalist, and she reluctantly takes on this newcomer by the name of Jessie, played by Cailee. She takes her under her wings on this trip, and their ongoing conversations about the impact of an image, an impact on the story, having integrity as a journalist, and seeing the lengths that they were willing to capture these moments were just so riveting to me. Watching their development of their relationship is the beating heart of this film, and both of them were outstanding in this movie. Which, speaking of outstanding, I gotta talk about a small role but a very impactful role, and that is the character played by Jesse Plemons. That scene, if you've seen the trailer, you know what I'm referring to, but that scene is haunting. It is terrifying. He is menacing in that role, and that whole scene, not just him, but just the whole thing, how it shakes up, that point of the movie is the most intense part of the film to me, and is one of the most intense moments I've seen in the film in a very long time. But Jesse was perfectly casted, which is kind of speaking to that scene, but also the mood and kind of how the film makes you feel. The anchor of this film is how it manages to build tension and make you feel unbelievably uncomfortable and tense and completely stressed out. There are moments where I felt myself sitting up and just completely captivated by what was going on. From that scene I was referring to with Jesse Plemons, like the last 45 minutes of the film, it grabs you and it does not let you go. Now, even with those positive things being said, I do have my issues with the film. I will start off by saying that even though I appreciate the filmmaker Alex Garland not like putting a flag on the ground and saying this is how I feel about politics in America, a disadvantage to the storytelling. I'll say there is a flaw within the storytelling, and I mean by that is that it doesn't explore the intricacies of the major conflict going on. This idea that California and Texas join forces to go against the U.S. government is so ridiculous, but it's also so fascinating to me, and I thought that the lack of information on how things escalated was disappointing to not explore. And sticking with that conversation of disappointment, there were some creative decisions made throughout the film that I wasn't entirely on board with, but in particular the end of the film and the way that it ends things to me just wasn't as satisfying in my eyes. There's an emotional decision made by one of our main characters, and I wish there was more time to reflect on the decision, but also I wanted to explore the aftermath of that decision. So again, narratively speaking, I know what Alex was going for, but I just feel like it was just a wasted opportunity to not really dive into the intricacies of the political landscape that this film presents. So some shortcomings in the story, but from the filmmaking, the actual tense feeling that you get while watching it, the intensity within the scene, the horrific moments in the movie, and just the acting really kind of elevates it. But it doesn't really hit that number one type of movie of the year conversation for me, because it does have some shortcoming in the storytelling. But before I give you all my overall thoughts, if you all should check it out in theaters, I want to take the time to thank you all for making it to this point in the review. If you haven't already, consider hitting the like button, sharing this video, but also sharing your thoughts on the film. But also consider sticking around by hitting that subscribe button. With all that being said, overall, this film, Civil War by A24, is an apolitical anti-war film, and it is one of the most tense, gritty, and brutal films I've seen in quite a while. And it has some similarities of classics like Apocalypse Now meets Sicario. Combination of Alex Garland, impeccable direction, and hearty cinematography creates an immersive experience that is both heart-pounding and haunting, all while being beautifully crafted. The whole cast performance is excellent, especially Dunst and Spaeny, who carry the story. Now, although it might not fully explore its political roots, the filmmaking was utterly spectacular and outstanding. I'm going to give A24's Civil War a 4 out of 5. Now, I'll be honest, even though I gave it a 4 out of 5, I don't think this film will be for everyone. Now, at the same time, I don't think it's as triggering as some people are making it, but I'm going to leave that to you all. And if you all decide to check this out, I would love to have a conversation with you. The pros, the cons, again, how did you feel while watching it, but also how did you feel walking out of the theater? Where would you place this amongst Alex's other previous work? I don't think it's as good as what I consider to be his best work, which is Ex Machina. It's probably in the same conversation with Annihilation, and Devs is a TV show, but I really love Devs. But I would say it's kind of in the middle. I think it's better than his last film, even though I was one of the people that actually enjoyed Men a lot more than others. But it's definitely something to check out. And like I said, when you do, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Keep an eye out for some more videos I have coming up in the next coming days as I try to get better from this science section. Again, I appreciate you all, and I'll check you out on the next video.